Hi, Libra Sun and Rising. Welcome to your October 2020 Astro Transits. It's Raina here, and this is a month, or at least until the 22nd, when the Sun is in your sign. I'm recording this right before the equinox, and that is when the Sun actually goes into Libra on September 22nd. So happy birthday to all of you Librans born in September as well as those born in October. We call this a solar return, but the actual official solar return is on your birthday. But this is where it gets a little bit tricky because it has to be at the degree of your sun sign for it to be your solar return. And sometimes that will be a day or two off in either direction, depending on what year it is. Your rising sign, the significance is that the sun is in your first house. When it crosses the threshold, when it comes from that 12th house and enters the first house. And that will be, the first house is a new cycle. It's also the body, so the sun in the first house can be revitalizing on that front. So, needless to say, when we have our birthday month, there's a tendency to feel good, feel revitalized. On the very first day of the month, we have a full moon. We actually have bookends when it comes to full moons. We have one on the first day and we have one on the last day on Halloween, which is a blue moon when you have two full moons in a month. So October should be I was going to say a real doozy because full moons can certainly bring out some interesting characters, can't they? But in addition to that, it's, the truth is that because the new moon and the full moon, the first two, are going to be in cardinal signs, we're going to probably see a lot of activity, a lot of things happening. But by the same token, two full moons in a month may mean a lot of closure. So on the first, we have a full moon at 9 degrees of Aries. Aries is your opposite sign. Because it's at 9 degrees, some of you will be experiencing this in a different house. So actually, if you are between 10 and 29 degrees of Aries, this full moon is actually going to fall not in your house of relationships, which is the house that you rule, the 7th house, but in the 6th house of employment and your daily routine and your health. So examples of what may transpire, some of you may discover something about the people, places, and things in your workplace. You may find out if you've been feeling kind of weird, what a coworker has been saying about you to the boss, or what has been going on, really been going on behind the scenes. This can be a promotion because full moons can bring things to a climax or some kind of a blossoming, if you will. This can be a situation where you end a certain aspect of your daily routine, and I would say maybe a significant aspect. So, because of the shutdown situation, there are some people who have been working from home, maybe, a lot of people. And now they're going back into the office and maybe, so that's a totally different type of routine. And it's not something that we are designing for ourselves in a grandiose way. I mean, this is something that is occurring because of world events. So, working 9 to 5 and commuting, that's a certain schedule, and being at home in your jogging pants and all that, your yoga pants, and working is a totally different type of thing. You might, Even if you conform to a certain schedule at home, it's still going to be different. So your daily routine may come to an end, whatever that is. Your health matters, something coming to a head, which can be good. But I mean, there could be, when I say a crisis point, that sounds bad. But what I mean is, some alternative health practitioners call any kind of a healing crisis, an opportunity to, purify the body through whatever that is. If you're having, a cold and you're getting rid of things. But really, with the full moon here, it's a chance to purify your body too. Maybe eating a cleaner diet, or at least finding out what some kind of health matter, what's really going on there when you're kind of getting symptoms but not really understanding. Maybe you go to a health practitioner and find out. Again, that's not going to be affecting everybody, just those that it does. For the rest of you, and this is going to be the early ones, this is going to affect your seventh house of committed partnership. And this is similar in finding out something about a partner. Maybe, a lot of times people probably jump to the conclusion that we're talking about, you find out your partner's cheating on you. Well, it doesn't have to be that. For some people, it could be finding out something about their partner that they don't like. But in some cases, it could be finding out something that makes you have more compassion for them. If you're somebody who has felt that your partner does certain things that you don't like, you may have a sense of understanding, seeing them in a new light, let's put it that way, with the full moon. Depending on other matters, for some relationships, this can be a time of closure. And it can be a good thing. Libra is a sign, since you rule the seventh house, where you really are very committed to a relationship. Well, it's not so much about being committed to a relationship as being acclimated to relationships. Relationships are second nature to you, one-on-one relationships. But you're a cardinal sign, so you're capable of taking action and even being detached when you have determined that something is not working. I think that's the one saving grace of cardinal signs, specifically like Cancer and Libra, is that being a cardinal sign allows you to eventually take action if you feel that you're not getting your needs met. So this could be a time of getting married, of making the fullest commitment that you see fit, because we don't all have the same views on this, but you may feel that if you're living with your partner, that's not enough. That's not enough commitment, that you want to have a legal commitment. And so that might be when the wedding happens, or when you get engaged or plan going to plan the wedding. On the 2nd, your ruler Venus goes into a very chaste, earthy Virgo. And so this for you is your 12th house. Now, what I just said, for those early Librans, maybe you had somebody on the side and you were just, oh yeah, that's one more thing. The 7th house is our legal affairs. So this could be the ending, the culmination of a legal affair. So maybe it's a divorce that has, had to go legally get your divorce papers. And meanwhile, Virgo in that 12th house could be on the down low, or, actually, it wouldn't be like, you're actually still with a partner. So it would just be keeping that discreet, that other relationship discreet. Because Libra is a sign that does tend to be concerned about appearances, keeping up appearances. And you may not want other people to know that you have been seeing a third party. So you may just kind of like keep that person under wraps so that other people don't judge you and don't think that you are a cheater or anything like that. And then at the appropriate date, when you think enough time has gone by, then you bring them out into the open. This can be meeting somebody who is like a soulmate. You have some kind of karmic connection to this person. You feel like you've known them forever. On the 4th, Pluto goes direct at 22 degrees of Capricorn. So you've had Pluto in this house for many years, since 2008, if your 4th house cusp is 0 degrees of Capricorn. But this is the house of the mother, the house of home and family. And this has been an area that has been kind of like where you've been diving deep for years. And it may have been a wrenching experience. Not everybody has this. I was just reading somewhere else. I wasn't quite sure because I wasn't really focused on it. But they were saying the average person only has I think they said 4 or 5 Pluto transits through a house. 4 or 5 houses that Pluto transits through their lifetime. So that's less than half of the zodiac's houses. So not everybody has Pluto transiting their 4th house. This is a great opportunity to really heal childhood issues. The thing about it is that Pluto gets that reputation because Pluto is not content with dealing with things on the surface. So Pluto rules the 8th house along with Mars under the sign of Scorpio. And if you know, and you might even have inner planets, if your sun in Scorpio in particular, you may have, Mercury in Scorpio, for instance, or Mars or Venus, and you know how intense you can get in those areas. But this is, the 4th house can be the mother, but parents in general, and your roots. And I wish I could tell you, that when Pluto goes direct, it's going to be sweetness and light, and you're not going to have to deal with much when it comes to the kind of intensity. But Pluto is one of those planets that, whether it's retrograde or direct, you're going to feel that sense of having to really look at things and not be able to kind of turn away. Libra is a sign that can be slick, that can be very glib. And if you're Libra rising, you may have even grown up trying to make everything look like it was okay. If you came from, I should say, if you came from a dysfunctional family, which, raise your hands if you didn't come from a dysfunctional family. Probably very few, but the ones that, the more intensely dysfunctional, sometimes that can mean that Libra rising has to make the family look good by pretending that everything is okay. And you can do that very easily and put on a good front, but still have that situation going on that when you get older, you realize, wow, that really created a lot of psychological issues that I have to kind of untangle. And you may even be going through therapy for that, because Pluto can create the desire. And I think Libra is a sign that does tend to enjoy, analyzing these kinds of issues and discussing them with somebody. So, on the 13th, speaking about Scorpio and Pluto, we're having a Mercury retrograde, but it is in Scorpio at 11 degrees, 11 being a master number. And so this is your second house of earned income. So, the check is in the mail type of thing. Now, Mercury is going to be going back into your sign at some point during this retrograde, the next 3.5 weeks. So, it'll be going from the second to the first house. Mercury retrograde in the second house, when I said check is in the mail, be careful about all kinds of correspondence that is related to your money, or, kind of like any kind of checks that do come, because there could be a chance for them to be lost, or, things happen like that. So, but also the second house is a house of earned income. I mean, I was going to say, I already said it was earned income. I was getting a little distracted. It's the house of self-esteem. So the fact that Mercury is starting in the second house and going to the first house, which is the house of the self, may mean that you're rethinking something in your life. Here's an example that is specifically tailored to Libra, that could have something to do with Pluto going direct in the fourth house with the mother. Maybe you have a dynamic with your mother where you have a hard time saying no to her, and you realize that this has created resentment, or she is, treating you in a certain way that you feel is unacceptable. Because one thing I forgot to say is that Saturn is also in the fourth house. So Saturn went back into Capricorn in early July and will be there until December, when it goes back into your fellow air sign, Aquarius. And I think that's going to be much more of a friendly situation for you right now, because Capricorn is squaring off to you. There is tension, and there may be something where you feel the sense of duty to your mother, or, your family in general, and you are taking care of them in some way, but there might be resentment if you're not being treated with respect. And you are thinking, possibly with this Mercury retrograde, what is it within me that allows me to be treated this way? And Mercury is also your voice. When it's in your sign, maybe you find your voice to be able to say, I will listen to you when you speak to me in a tone of respect, but I'm not going to do it if you're going to be sarcastic, or you're going to be demeaning. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to honor your request under those circumstances, where you draw the line in some way, those kinds of things. But getting back to the monetary influence, Mercury can be contracts. So make sure anything that you have to sign, because sometimes you do have to sign things during a Mercury retrograde and you can't postpone it, that you're just really on top of your game and you're not being careless and not reading the fine print. On the 16th, we have a new moon at 23 degrees of Libra. So again, where is this falling in your chart? For those who are at 23 degrees, 24 degrees to 29 degrees of Libra, the late birds. It's going to fall in your 12th house. And this can be like a spiritual rebirth of sorts. You may employ some kind of new spiritual practices, including Hatha Yoga, which I think is a really great type of physical, well, I was going to say exercise, I guess, physical exercise for Librans, because it's very graceful. And Libra is a sign that I think of as really flowing and, being ruled by Venus, wanting the type of exercise that is not, it's not about being strenuous, but you get a workout. I mean, it's not about just beating the crap out of your body. You know what I mean? So there's a gracefulness. So anyway, there's that, maybe a meditation practice. For the rest of you, so 0 to 23 degrees, this is going to fall in your first house. And this is going to be your new moon, the late ones. It's going to be in the Scorpio new moon where it falls in your first house. So eventually you will have it in your first house. What can we say? For those who it falls in your first house, think about the next 12 months. What would you like to have manifest in your life? And these can be very humble, small goals, or these can be goals where you're really stretching yourself. It's always fun to have goals. It gives your life definition, doesn't it? And it doesn't have to be just something that has to do with your work or your body. I wanna lose a certain amount of weight or exercise every day. It can be something fun goals. What I associate with the 11th house, actually. And then on the 31st, we have a blue moon at 8 degrees of Taurus. And when I did, I've done your reading like so many times. One thing I noted, which I thought was very interesting, is that when I looked at some of these degrees, like the Mercury retrograde, for instance, at 11 degrees of Scorpio, the 11 is Libra's number in the tarot and a lot of the tarot decks, and the 8 is the strength card, and that's Leo. But in some decks, 8 is Libra or Justice card, and the 11th is the strength card. I always wondered why that is. If you know the answer, write below. But anyway, so this is a full blue moon at 8 degrees of Taurus. And for those of you who are in the later degrees, so from 9 to 29 degrees of Libra, this is going to be in that relationship sector. So you do get your full moon in that relationship sector. So everything I said, I'm not going to go into it too much, but just some developments with your partner or ending a legal matter, discovery about your partner could be in play. For the rest of you, the early ones, this is going to be in that 8th house, which is a very intense place. This is Scorpio's house. So I've been talking so much about Pluto in the 4th house. This is another water house. That's Cancer's house. This is Scorpio's house. And this can be the house of psychology. Understanding what makes you tick, or realizing maybe ending some kind of obsession or addiction. Sometimes that can be associated with the 8th house. Purification. because the eighth house is about purging and the full moon is about purification. So that might be good on all levels, including those uncomfortable emotions. The eighth house is a shadow. So seeing, with Libra, a lot of times there's an agreeable facade, but you're a human being, and all people can feel anger. It may be harder for you sometimes to admit that you have anger or even rage, even something very intensely angry towards a situation, towards a person. You may automatically shove it under the rug because it feels like it's wrong. You want to be nice. You want to be that person who is kind, and you don't want to have these emotions. But when people are at odds with their shadow, when they can't accept it and they kind of shove it under the rug, it can seep out. It can seep out in passive aggressive tendencies where the person forgets to do something for somebody that they're angry at, or they make a snide remark kind of covered in something else and something nice, like what they call a left-handed compliment, which I don't like because I'm left-handed, or at least I write with my left hand, and things like that. And owning the shadow, seeing the shadow, and not being ashamed, afraid, understanding that it's a part of us that we can integrate into our whole personality so that we don't fear it and it doesn't control us in an unconscious way or subconscious way, and that we can allow it in other people too. So we can allow other people to have that part of themselves that is not perfect, is not, if somebody else is angry, that we're not going to automatically try to, shame them for anger or tell them that they shouldn't be angry, what have you. So that can be a very therapeutic time for those people. And in general, for all of us, it should be a doozy because it's forming a conjunction with Uranus. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll notice, like when I'm maybe in the public going on, the train or something, and I'll notice that there's a lot of erratic behavior. One of the first things I say is there a full moon right now, or is it coming up? And so many times there is a full moon within a few days, and it brings out the crazy behavior. And Uranus is about being erratic and unpredictability. That's kind of a synonym, but just rebellious behavior. This is happening a few days before the U.S. election. So another thing is like unexpected events with the full moon bringing out secrets or something like that. It's during a Mercury retrograde. So in Scorpio, no less. So that should be, we don't know what's going to happen with that because there's a lot because that should set the stage for something that the big reveal, maybe I'll do a general full moon reading about the blue moon. But in any case, I hope that you enjoyed this, Libra. I have a special for Libra Sun and Libra Rising people through October 31st. And if you're listening in September, this is still in play. And it is 20% off selected natal chart readings. So I have like a few, one with the important transits, some of the important transits of the next 12 months, and the transits alone or the natal chart alone. And I have the link to that below, and there is a promo code for that. I hope you have a great birthday, and also thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.